I understand that sometimes war is inevitable, it's unavoidable, but so is shitting your pants. You should try to avoid it at all costs. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Creative Businessmen. We're trying a new format with this one. This is sort of a different segment type format, and some of these Daniel will sit in with me on, some will be just me, but I want to discuss certain issues that we face as a society, and for me it's real important that we all have these conversations and that we discuss these issues and work together to create more awareness of big issues in our society, and also to have more empathy for each other, for not just for our society, but for humanity as a whole. And I really hope you enjoy the episode. Let me know what you think. I want to have these conversations with you. I want us to all have these conversations with everyone. And I think it's very important. If we're ever going to change our society for the better, to make it better, we have to talk about these things. And I just feel like they're very important. So let me know what you think about it. Let me know if there's an issue you would like for me to discuss on the show. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Also, if you enjoy the show, be sure to like and subscribe. We really appreciate your support, and I hope you enjoy the episode. Tulsi Gabbard had a really good tweet the other day. She said, "Have you noticed that the very people who are proclaiming that we need to go to war to spread democracy abroad are the same ones who are undermining our freedom and rights here at home?" And it's true. A lot of people that are shutting people down and censoring people for going against the narrative, the corporate media narrative, are the same people that are saying we are promoting war, and they always have promoted war, and it's because that's where the money's at, So Matt Taibi wrote this really good article about this issue, and I encourage everybody to go read this article. It'll be in the description. So Joe Biden last week said the American response in Ukraine would be proportional to Vladimir Putin's actions. It depends, the president posited, thoughts drifting like blobs in a lava lamp. It's one thing if it's a minor incursion, and then alarms sounded all over Washington. The rip in the national political illusion was so severe, Republicans and Democrats were forced to come out agreeing and leaping into each other's arms in panic or in joy. Like, yay, we get to go back to war. Then as now, both blue and red propaganda outlets howled. The core interest of the Washington consensus is war. It isn't just big business, but it's our biggest business. One of the last things we still make and export on a grand scale. The bulk of the people elected to Congress and a lion's share of lobbyists, lawyers, and journalists who snuggle in a giant fornicating mass in the Capitol are dedicated to the upkeep of the war bureaucracy. I understand that sometimes war is inevitable, it's unavoidable, but so is shitting your pants. Sometimes you should try to avoid it at all costs. But there's trillions of dollars involved. So in the Middle East, over 20 years, they spent $14 trillion, and $7 trillion went to private companies. That doesn't necessarily mean corruption, but kinda. There's a lot of incentive to go to war. It's like we're stuck in a weird paradox where you want. It's like the people who we want to pass laws and regulations to prevent these things are incentivized by the things that cause these wars. So support people like Tulsi Gabbard. That's the solution. Support truly independent-minded politicians and thinkers that really care about the American people or people in general, that care about people in general and humanity, and support those people. That's why people like Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang don't get the support, is because they don't follow along with the narrative. They push against the system because they really care. And Tulsi's been to war. She's seen real suffering, and she surfs. It'd be great to have a president who was physically strong, who could surf. It'd be nice to have a president today that could just safely navigate a flight of stairs and have a complete thought. But, think about that. We spent $14 trillion over 20 years in the Middle East. There's no way that could have been anything more. With the exception of the obvious profitability and acquisition of resources, to me, that just looks like a sadistic form of target practice and weapons testing. Do any of us really believe it took the United States military hands down the most powerful and fierce military on the planet by far. 20 years, over 2 million soldiers, and $14 trillion, $7 trillion of which went to private companies to take out Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and ISIS. 3 desert gangs. It's insanity. Like, we could have took them out before lunch. I mean, the whole GDP of Afghanistan and Iraq combined is like $240 billion. We could have bought those countries. We could have bought those countries, rebuilt them, and gave them free medical care for the rest of their lives for a fraction of that. So I just don't believe it. It's like a politician's telling you need to believe this. Yeah, I'm taking a lot of money from these guys, but don't pay attention to that. You need to believe this. This is important. These people don't like us. Well, no shit. You keep bombing them. Of course they don't like us. They're never going to like us. Feed them. Feed them. If we're going to spend the money anyway, let's just retool the machine to shoot food at them. It's insanity. And our politicians they must think we're all idiots, because anybody that sees this can see right through it. I think more people just need to pay attention to it. That's the biggest key.
You're a money guy. Break down $1 trillion for me.
I can't even comprehend it. It's like how many stars are in the sky.
Right.
It's so much. It's like go count all the grains of sand on the beach. It's like that. It's such a giant number.
The other day, I was trying to figure out how many zeros in a trillion, right? How many zeros are in a trillion? Do we know? So
it's got to be like
that's 1,000.
12 or something.
That's 1,000,000. I can't even, if you hold your phone regular, you can't even get to 1 trillion. You have to turn your phone sideways to get to 1 trillion. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What's 1,000 billion?
It's 1,000 billion. Yeah. How much money is Elon Musk worth?
200 billion, maybe. Right.
200 billion.
Close to it. Yeah.
How many Elon Musk go into 1 trillion?
Oh yeah. So five Elon Musk.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. It was
into 1 trillion.
Well, even 200 billion is ridiculous.
Yeah, well, for sure.
The thought of what that is. I mean, money's not real. It's all a construct.
Yeah, sure.
But
getting my head.
And I don't have a problem with Elon Musk having $200 billion either. I just have a problem with the floor of society being so low that most people don't have the same opportunity to figure out what they're good at and excel at whatever they can do. We can have a prosperous society today if we just reevaluate the money. The planet itself, I've said this in other episodes, an economist recently evaluated the value of the planet. Mm-hmm. And it was like, I think it was like 5 quadrillion dollars, that's a 5 followed by 15 zeros.
I think that's how much money Scrooge McDuck had.
At least. Yeah. You could definitely swim in it. But if we just used the evaluation of our portion of the planet as a factor of what the money's worth or what our currency is worth, our currency would be worth more money than it is. But I don't know. The way I see it is the system is kind of designed now, and it's not one individual or a few individuals that are doing it. It's corporations that are dictating how the system works, and it works to benefit the biggest corporations, the most powerful corporations. And if you're riding the top of that wave on one of those corporations and you're in that billionaire class, then everything is suddenly free because everything works for you. All the tax deductions, all the tax breaks, all the incentives are made for that class of people. So if you can make it to that level, money no longer exists. Everything's free. And that's fine, but it's also not fine because you also have to have some type of bottom-up approach to balance that out. Be as successful and as wealthy as you want, but also have a floor that's high enough so nobody's in poverty and everybody has the same opportunity to pursue their passions. And some people's passions aren't very financially incentivized, and some people's passions may have zero financial reward. But it doesn't mean they shouldn't be able to pursue them, and it also doesn't mean that our society wouldn't be way better and healthier if people did pursue those things. I was on a plane the other day, and I saw someone sitting diagonally across from me. They were watching a news article about how Biden was planning on sending, I think, a few thousand troops over to Ukraine, and it occurred to me that and it's what we did in the Middle East. You know, we go into these poor countries, we give them weapons and resources and build them up and use them as pawns in these different wars. And so with Ukraine, it's like, how do we go to war with Russia without directly going to war with Russia? Ukraine's the puppet. They're right there beside them. You know, we can go in and build them up militarily, and we can have a conflict, a very lucrative conflict in Ukraine, and not directly be in war with Russia. And so the war machine's still profiting, doing well, and we're not directly going to war with Russia and risking a nuclear World War III, which would just destroy the whole planet. Mm-hmm. You know, that still could happen. That's what's really okay. The first thing that scares me about this, or bothers me about this, is the disregard for human life. You know, you've got these. You have these impoverished countries, and these people don't have a choice. And we go in and we take advantage of these people, and we use them, or these companies use them at their own benefit, for their own profitability, and it's disgusting. Hundreds or likely thousands of innocent people will die just for money. There's nothing in Ukraine that is of interest to us. And it's not our job to go around and democratize the world. That's insane. Leave people alone. You know what I mean? If we're really worried about making other countries do better, we'd be worried about China or North Korea, you know, or even places in Africa, you know, where there's serious human rights violations. And we're just using these small countries at our own benefit. And lots of innocent people will die because of it. And nobody's going to give a shit about it. And most Americans won't even know about it. But when you're at home eating dinner with your family, just imagine what it would be like to constantly be worried about your house getting hit by a drone strike. I know a guy that I met at the gym a few years ago, and he's actually an Iraqi guy. He's from Iraq. He's a really good guy too, like real nice guy. He's an entrepreneur. He owns a small business, and the apartment that he was living in, the apartment complex, got hit in a strike, and when he got his senses together, he ran into his daughter's bedroom. And his wife had been in there with his daughter in the whole room. He said the whole room was gone when he opened the door. And that's just one of thousands, you know, and it's disgusting, and it's an atrocity, and we could do better. You know what? If anybody can do better, this country can do better. The most powerful country in the world. Do we want to destroy people or build people up? It's our choice. And when we look at politics, there's 500 of them, and there's 330 million of us. Fucking speak up, make a difference. Stop electing the same tyrants that want to do this shit. Stop supporting the Republican and Democratic parties. Support independents. Support people that will make a difference, because they're not going to do it. They're not going to change. It's going to be the same shit over and over and over, because they're the ones filling their pockets with the money from these companies who want to do this. It's up to us to change it. Either that or just say fuck it and then deal with that shit every night. Because it's our responsibility. When these families are dying, we're all responsible. We're all a part of that. And I'm not saying anything bad about the soldiers either. I support the troops. I support law enforcement. Those people have incredibly difficult jobs. That's why they're the people doing those jobs, because they can do them. Our government is taking advantage of these people. You've got these soldiers who are willing to kill people to protect our rights and our freedoms and who love this country, and they're being used as pawns. They're being misused and abused and taken advantage of at the benefit of corporations. Anyway, back to Matt Taibi's article right here. Rising discontent in turn inspires further requests from the puppet, which would be the Ukraine in this case, for security aid, which we happily provide, since that ultimately is the whole point. Selling weapons to foreigners to fill those Washington rice bowls. You will soon hear it in the form of increased calls for defense spending amid the Ukraine mess, but we've been at it forever. Biden's gaffe raised real concern that the war party will overcompensate with a catastrophic macho gesture. News that Biden is now weighing the deployment of more troops and warships to the region should fill all with confidence, for instance. Yeah, and he is. He's sending troops over now. There are people in Washington who think a pipeline of Javelin missile sales is worth having to watch for Russian subs popping up in a New York harbor, and they are the same people in charge of this very heavy decision on the horizon. And it's true. It seems like their plan is to create a war that is sort of concentrated in Ukraine so we don't go into nuclear war with Russia. What if that gets out of control? We could experience real war here. People who are this corrupt, I don't think that would be beyond them, because they clearly don't value human life. So why would they value ours? There are people who would read this and cry, "Where is your outrage against Vladimir Putin? Why don't you denounce him?" To which I say, fine, I denounce him. Then what? When you're done wailing, you're still faced with deciding whether or not to go to war with Russia, which is not a real choice unless you're an idiot or General Jack Ripper insane. Unfortunately, the Newlands and Blinkens who will be making this call just may fit those descriptions. And Taibi's right. I don't like Vladimir Putin. He's not a good person. He's a tyrant. But should we destroy civilization because of it, or should we go into the Ukraine and develop a stronghold there to try to put pressure on Putin at the expense of thousands of innocent people's lives? No. Maybe you should try to work with people like this and find a way to incentivize them to be better. We talk about all the issues with the borders and with immigration and stuff like that. Well, why are the people coming here? Because they live shitty lives. They're trying to escape shit. So why don't we try to find a way to spend money and invest in those areas? That makes more sense. We're going to do it either way. The money's going to be spent regardless of what we want. But if we can spend the money in a positive way, and if you can pull people out of poverty, they're going to support you. They're going to be your friends. They're going to be your allies. And even with Russia, it's at the end of the day, everybody wants the same thing. They, as far as regular people, they want food and love and family, and they just want to have a decent life. And if you want to win people over, you're not going to do it by killing innocent families. So I really like the way he ends this article, and it's we all need to think about this deeply. This is one of the most important issues that we face today. The truth is, there's nothing to be done at this point. We had our chance. Both Russia and Ukraine should have been economic and strategic allies. Instead, we repeatedly blew opportunities in both places by trying to flex more and more muscle in the region, including, ironically, via election meddling. We actually created a coup in Ukraine to throw over their leadership and replace their leader with the person we wanted in place, which is insane. But now there's no winning move left. Conceding this means abandoning conventional wisdom, and the people we're now relying on to see the light have shown little ability to do that. In a situation with only two choices, bad and horrifyingly worse, God help us if the playbook wins again. Number one, I don't want to see innocent people lose their lives. And a lot of people lose their lives just because their economy is going to be crushed. If there's a war in the Ukraine, it's going to take an already impoverished country and make it worse. And beyond that, if it goes beyond Ukraine and becomes a direct war between us and Russia, God help us all. Who knows what happens? When it comes to stuff like this, we all need to be talking about it. We all need to have a conversation about it. We need to demand that our leaders give us good reasons why they feel like this is necessary, because there's not any. There are no good reasons for this. And like I said, stop voting for Republicans and Democrats. Independents can make a difference. They do make a difference. The independent journalists have way more viewership than any of the mainstream corporate media organizations. Trust in yourselves. We have to believe in ourselves as a society, as the public, because we are a democratic republic. The power lies with us, or it's supposed to. Let's take it back. Let's have these conversations and talk to people you don't agree with. You know, like have these discussions with people with different perspectives. Work with people that have different points of view, and we all need to work together. Forget about Republican, Democrat, left, right. Yeah, some of us have more liberal points of view. Some people have more conservative points of view. Good. Have conversations with those people and work together. And let's vote in more independent thinkers like Andrew Yang or Tulsi Gabbard. Anyone who is pushing against the mainstream narratives, because those people don't have a chance if we don't support them. And we can. We may not be able to support them through advertisement, but we still have a bigger voice. There's still more of us, and we can make a difference. And we have to. And also support independent journalists. You know, like Matt Taibi, he's a very talented, highly respected independent journalist. Support these independent journalists. Support Breaking Points with Crystal and Sagar. Support Jimmy Dore. Support Russell Brand. You know, these people really care, and they're not going to lie to you. Support Joe Rogan. You know, it doesn't matter if you like him or not. Just watch his show. He'll introduce you to a lot of interesting people that have different perspectives, and he'll let them speak. You know, if you want to know what somebody really cares about or what they're passionate about, listen to them speak. Let them have a conversation. Even if they say things that they make a mistake about or they're wrong about, you still let people say what they have to say, and then you have a conversation with them, and you tell them why they're wrong or why you feel the way you feel. And sometimes you change your perspective, which is great because we're all constantly evolving. We need to evolve in a better direction. Otherwise, we'll lose everything, you know. But anyway, I love you guys, and I hope you enjoy the episode. We're trying some new stuff, so if you enjoy it, be sure to like and subscribe. Let us know what you think about it in the comments, and let's make a difference. Thanks, guys.